Hello and welcome to part 2 of the basic drawing, the step-by-step how to draw a dragon head video. So in this video, I'm just going to finish the drawing just with an ink style brush, just to create a quick and simple finished piece. So apparently I already have a layer created. Oh, it's because I drew on it. Okay. So I just create a new layer. I have my rough sketch, my really sloppy one where I'm mapping everything out down below. And then I create a layer on top of that. And then pick out your favorite ink brush. After playing around with some things, I discovered this calligraphy shell brush, which I really like. It has a nice texture to it. It has some auto smoothing, so that's something to be aware of if you want more natural, if you want the brush strokes to follow more naturally, but I kind of like how it smooths it out. So in the inking phase, we just go over identifying the most important parts to put down our lines. Because this first phase, we should have mapped out, we should have in our brains where everything is in 3D space. Because even though it's flat, we're still thinking 3D. You know, and I always like to start with the eye, with a brush that's not so huge. And I don't know how much I'll be talking in this one. This is just to give it like a finishing pass, just so I'm not posting like a really sloppy sketch. You know, I know this horn connects here. And one of the things I'll do is I'll make sure that line kind of, here, I'll redo it. I'll make sure that line kind of comes around and matches like the skin as it wraps around. You know, so it feels like, my iPad keeps doing weird things. Figuring out the nose. And I'm just thinking about like the lines that kind of help define some of this stuff. Knowing that the more lines you put down, you know, if I sit here and like draw all these lines, he could end up looking like a really old dragon. So I'll undo that. Let me just finish the eye. And if you watch any of my other videos, I always fill the eye in. So with ink, it's a little bit different because a lot of times I'll have blend the top to the bottom. But then let's just say light's coming from this direction. Give it a little highlight. And I just put a couple little lines there to help show that it's, those are too thick. So the light's kind of illuminating that. All right. Oh, and so when I do these scales along the nose, a lot of times I layer them, you know, so it's like 1, 2, 3. Obviously you can do 1, you can do like 5, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I always start with the one that is closest to me in space. And I try to give a little bit of variance. Actually, back up. Let me map out where this horn goes. That'll be the skin that kind of wraps around it. There. So now I know exactly how far I need to take that. Because then I know where to put those bottom pieces where the scales connect to the skin. You know, and even though I've mapped all this out, a lot of times I don't necessarily follow them unless I need to. Because once I get in here, and I'm always careful, I always hate starting a scale right at that point. I like offsetting them or having them offset. Except then sometimes they can get too. I'm just adding a few lines for added detail. I mean, really, it's best to map out the whole. Come in here and make sure we get that jawbone connecting. And then for this, I will actually just draw these first. And be mindful of when the scales connect with the skin, so we capture some of that. Oops. And obviously this neck is not flat like this. I want to keep in mind that this is round or it has multiple shapes to it. Meaning if it has this flat surface right here that then connects to another part of his neck. That's always something to be mindful of. You know, because sometimes I'll even put like a little row of scales right here. And then usually there's just the way the neck, that was weird. And you can vary this up so you can have all sorts of different styles. So I don't think I did this very accurately. Oops, got rid of my good line. Let me just erase this and do this over again. So obviously where the neck bends, there's going to be extra skin that kind of folds over on itself. So I want to make sure we communicate that, whereas some of this skin goes that way. And I know this dragon looks kind of similar to my full tutorial, or my full how-to process, but that's okay. That's just where I'm starting. Because then we'll take this dragon and put him in, you know, different poses and whatnot. So anyway, once you kind of ink that in, you can just go back in and add any details that you need to. And so my plan is to just start with some of these basic ones. Start with this profile view. That's the easiest. But then we'll kind of expand from there. Horns tend to have like little growth lines into them. I mean, now obviously you can use the type of horn growth to help define the personality of your dragon, because you know sometimes they have rings like that, and that can also be interesting too. So these tiny lines just help make it feel a little more detailed. Oh, actually what I do, so when I'm inking, if I get to this point, I drop out my rough sketch behind. So then I can just focus on the ink drawing. Seeing that, it's not that's disconnected a little bit. Sweet. Every time like the skin connects to one of these areas, a lot of times there's the skin kind of rounds up around it. So those are some details that you can kind of capture. I keep my scales simple on this dragon. I'll put in just a couple of texture lines to help indicate the shape of the neck. But since it's just an ink drawing, I'll keep it pretty simple. Let me add just a couple of extra lines. Really adds. And really, I should make sure these lines connect. Add in some texture lines to the horn. It's sloppy work. Don't settle for sloppy work. You can also see how if I add more texture lines in, it helps create some of the shading on the dragon. But I'm trying to keep this simple. I said this would be a simple drawing. So I'm trying to keep the inking process simple. But just a couple of little texture lines goes a long way. Oh, I think I forgot that one. Yeah, then every time I'm like, I'm done. But wait a second. Make sure we add this horn in. And we have to imagine how that connects with the rest of the skull. I don't think it's bending the exact same, but I can fix that. And now it looks all weird. It's fine. I'm gonna leave it. It definitely looks thinner. So maybe I'll just try and fix it that way. Okay. Not the most elaborate or perfect dragon head, but I wanted this to be a really quick tutorial on how to draw a dragon head in a very simple way, since my real process really takes a long time. Oh, and a little bonus thing, if you are using digital art or a iPad or something like this, there's this cool liquify filter. Because then if you're like, oh man, his nose looks too big, I can just squeeze that in, or oh, I want his eye. Or you're like, I want his eye a little bit bigger. And move it down a little bit. So those are really quick and easy ways to make some adjustments that you might not see until the very end. But I really like it. Some texture like that. Okay, so let's just call this done. I won't overthink it or overwork it, but this is just the first in many of these simple form how to draw dragon videos. So I have plenty more to come, starting with the dragon head, but then we'll start doing the dragon form in different poses as well as different styles of dragons. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe, and let's help this channel grow. Thanks.